I have a real obsession for mushrooms. And of all the mushrooms I like, one is special. It's been around for more than 2,000 years because it offers excellent food. But I have learned to appreciate another quality of this mushroom, because in a world where everything is available all the time, this mushroom plays hard to get. It has no plan to be reduced to just another agricultural product. This mushroom is born to be wild. And maybe we can get a bit inspired by it. I can see it on your face now. A mushroom, one of these slimy things that can even poison you. How is it possible to be obsessed by a mushroom? It's easy, and I'm not the worst. In 2010, for example, in Italy, for just 10 short August days, 18 people died because of this mushroom. Not because it's poisonous, on the contrary. The Italian Alpine Rescue Team has very good statistics. They know that the most dangerous thing you can do in the mountains is skiing. And, no surprise, on the second is mountaineering. But now you have already guessed it, and yes, it is true. The third most dangerous thing to do in Italian mountain is mushroom picking. They have, in fact, more than 3,000 rescue operations to get out to pick up the pickers. How is it possible? Because these people love the mushroom for food, for income. Some sneak out at night because in Italy the forests are not free. Others run around at dawn so that the neighbors shall not see which way they're heading for their favorite spots. And when you're out there, you are always willing to take the extra step to catch the mushroom that hides on the end of the cliff, and boom, you fall down and end up in the bottom of the valley on a deathbed of your precious catch. These are plain, normal Italian headlines that pop up every autumn in newspapers. Okay, let's have a closer look on this mushroom. They say the saying, dear child has many names, really applies for this. And a lot of the names mimic the form. Like in Norwegian and German, it's rock mushroom. In English, penny bun. In Chinese, ox liver mushroom. But it is the list of more noble names that is the longest. The white mushroom in Russian. The true mushroom in Polish. In Austria, it's the gentleman mushroom. And in USA, the king and the queen. But it was a completely other name that became the brand name of this mushroom, because the Italians won. This mushroom has brought me on travels throughout Europe, to the Pacific Northwest in USA, and all the way to China. And everywhere I can use the word porcini. It's a nickname, really, and it has no grand connotation. It translates to little pig. Not because of the form, but because of the character of the flesh. Have you tried raw porcini? It's really, really delicious. You should. And when you do, you can understand why it's compared to meat. Nutty, crispy meat. Porcini is a group of mushrooms, and the most common one is Boletus edulis. That's the scientific name. These are the 4 species that lives in Europe, but if you go global, DNA sequencing shows us that we have 20 species, and they are still counting. But that's a scientific discussion. In the kitchen, they are all the same porcini. And they have been around as one of the favorite food of high society since the Roman emperors, via the French elite in the 17th century to today's gourmet restaurants all around the world. The chefs hail it as the king of mushroom, and it has a distinct flavor and wide usability that other foods really just can envy. It's just as good, dried as fresh, and salty or sweet. Porcini ice cream, excellent. And this is a favorite, cappuccini. It's a mush of porcini mushroom served hot, really tasty. It can be its own dish, or you can just add porcini powder to nearly any other dish just to pump up the general umami flavor. By all normal workings of modern economy, porcini should since long have been a big industrial agricultural product, but it's not. That is because its growth is completely unpredictable and can't be controlled. Porcini is the anarchist of the kingdom of fungi. That's why it's expensive. And where there is money, there's organized crime. And every autumn, the Italian police bust fake porcini worth millions of euro. It's not another mushroom. This is Chinese porcini packed as Italian. Because all porcini are equal, but some porcini are more equal than others. And the Italians are willing to pay double and triple for their own. Let's go back in time to the start of the 18th century, 1812, when the French general Bernadotte comes to Sweden to become king. King Carl XIV Johan. What did he see? Around the country he saw lots of his favorite childhood mushroom, cèpe de Bordeaux. But even more strange, nobody picked it. It was probably, or hopefully, not his most important task, but during his reign, porcini gradually became a part of Swedish society. The aristocracy started to cook porcini, and they even named the mushroom after the king. Still today in Sweden and in Denmark, it's called Karl Johan mushroom. There's a story about the king that he wanted to grow porcini at his castle outside Stockholm. He knew from France that they were growing champignons in caves outside Paris, and he adopted the technique, took it back to Sweden, sent out his servants and farmers to pick loads of porcini, and then he took the pore layer, this green stuff, off. This is where the mushroom seeds or the spores are located, in billions and billions. He diluted it in water, and this green mushroom soup they took out and poured under the oaks in the park. And then they started waiting. Meanwhile, the king's supply of dried porcini became smaller and smaller because nothing happened. It was a very clever plan, but at the same time, completely wrong. One point is that mushrooms don't easily breed through their spores. You can't buy a packet of spores and put it out in the garden like you can with plant seeds. But another thing was much more important, and we need to know a bit more of mushrooms to understand it. First of all, what you pick in the forest is not the mushroom, but the fruit of the mushroom. It's like taking an apple from an apple tree. The real mushroom organism lies hidden in the ground as thin threads. You can see it when you break a mushroom loose from the forest floor, like these cotton-like substances at the base of the mushroom. And it is these strings that makes mushroom special. It's not a plant. It's not an animal, but something in between, because mushrooms have to eat like us. Plants get food through photosynthesis. They transform sunlight to sugar, but the mushroom has to put food into the mouth and chew it down, like we do. The mushroom mouths are located on the mycelium as small pores that send out enzymes to break down dead biological matter and minerals in so small pieces that I can take it in back through the same pores. And it is how the mycelium relates to the rest of the forest environment that explains why Porcini is a dead duck for agriculture. With champignons, it's easy. You can just take sawdust and wood chips and put it into a damp room and add mushroom mycelium, and it starts off cloning. But you can't grow Porcini in your cellar. That's like taking a fish out of water. Porcini has to grow with a living tree. It's a form of symbiosis called mycorrhiza, where the mushroom mycelium threads connect to the smallest root tips of the tree and form a network that is bigger and better than they could have managed alone. It's one of these 1 + 1 = 3 solutions. And the mycelium is a really strange creature. It's something prehistoric over it. They say that the mycelium can feel movement on the forest floor, like if a tree falls over or an animal drops dead. There becomes a pressure on the ground, and the mushroom can direct more threads in that direction. Get the food, get the candy. Gaia theories brand mycelium as Earth's natural internet, and we are not close to understand the true nature and potential of mycelium and mycorrhiza. As small knots on the mycelium, the baby mushroom fruits lie ready to pop out when the time is right. And when the time is right, it's just to add water, and it happens. The billion-dollar question is, of course, when is the time right, and why? We don't really know that for the Porcini. It's not obvious what triggers the process, and it's not at all coherent. But when it happens fast. I have seen Porcini grow from 0 to a good picking size just overnight. It's a real force of nature. But you have to be quick to be there, to get it, because in a few days its glory is over. The Porcini biology is so complex that nobody has managed to control it, from King Karl Johan to today's scientists. They have managed with other mushrooms, like the truffle. They have had success with the saffron milkcap, and recently the Chinese also developed a method to grow morels. But for the Porcini, nothing. God knows that a lot of people have tried, because it's money. They know that the chances are slim, but the upside is so potentially rewarding. The Porcini business is already a $1 billion global trade, and if you should manage to break the code, you would be stinking rich overnight. But for so long, the unpredictability of the mushroom is bad news for investors with loads of money, but at the same time, perfect news for those with nothing. In China, in the southern province Yunnan, Porcini picking has become a big income for the poor countryside farmer. 30 years ago, they didn't really know that Porcini was present in China, and now they deliver 75% of all Porcini to the world market. And all this is picked by the poor countryside population. Every day, every morning, they go out the same route and pick up all the mushrooms that came up during the night. And for 3 intense mushroom months, they can double their annual income. I saw this man sell his 15-kilo bag of dried porcini for 20 euro a kilo. That's a lot of money. It's in fact 10% of the annual farmer's average income. There are so many stories to tell. And the more I learn about the porcini trade and biology, the more fascinating it is. I like the fact that I can't buy fresh porcini in February. I think it's good that there is at least one area where big money can't put the hands on. But what I really like is all the people I have met that are so deeply into porcini. It feels good not to be completely alone. And what we have in common is maybe a sense of freedom. The porcini picking world is a bit of a weird and wild world as the mushroom itself. But it's also an open place for everybody that doesn't fit in. There are so few work opportunities in our modern world where you can wake up in the morning, make your own decision on how many hours you want to work that day, be out in the open, free air without any supervisors watching every step you take, and in the evening, get paid in cash. This is a freedom appreciated by a lot of people, and it is an indigenous lifestyle in our more and more formal, bureaucratic, controlled world. Yes, I know it's a very romantic way to see it. It's a bit naive, okay, and no doubt porcini pickers work hard and they never get rich. But sorry, isn't that like for most of us? So I hope you can be a bit inspired by this mushroom, to be more wild, to be more free, to be a bit more unpredictable and not always available. So get out in the forest. There is always a porcini to catch somewhere in the world. You can sell it or buy it. Welcome to the crowd of the wild and free, and come in the world of the porcini man. Thank you.